2026 LCSW and LMSW changes. Yes, the ASWB wants you to believe that the 2026 LCSW and LMSW exam changes are no big deal, and they're wrong. I've spent the last few weeks living and breathing the official blueprints, analyzing the data from the new social work census, and mapping out exactly what's different. And I'm here to tell you, this isn't a minor update. It could be a trap. It's a trap designed to make you feel comfortable and make you think your old study habits are good enough. And I'm telling you straight up and down, they're not. If you walk into that testing center after August of 2026 using a pre-2026 strategy, you're walking into a trap that could cost you your license. In this video, I'm going to expose the biggest traps hidden within the 2026 exam change. More importantly, I'm going to give you the new rules for your study plan so you can dismantle these traps, adapt, and walk out of the exam passing. This isn't about fear, it's about being prepared. So let's get into it. First and foremost, the minor change myth. All right, let's start with that. The ASWB has said these changes based on a massive 2024 social work census are meant to better reflect modern practice. They've used words like consolidation, reorganization, and on the surface, some of it sounds fine. But calling this minor, to me, can be a little misleading. This isn't just rearranging furniture. It's a major structural overhaul, the most obvious shift in the structure itself. For years, I've taken an exam a decade and a half ago. We've all learned to think in 4 parts: human development, diversity and behavior, assessment, diagnosis, psychotherapy, interventions. And then you have that professional relationships, values and ethics, all of that. Each section made up roughly a quarter of the exam. It felt a little balanced. Maybe a higher percentage here, a higher percentage here, but very similar. But starting in August of 2026, the exam is being rebuilt into 3, can I count? 3 core domains. So you got values and ethics, assessment and planning, and intervention and practice. So we've gone from 4 to 3. That alone is a huge structural shift that requires a different mental map, a different way of seeing things. But here's where the first part of the trap is set. They didn't just eliminate a section, they fundamentally rebalanced the weight of these different topics. The old, relatively even 4-point model is being replaced by a dynamic 3-part structure. Thinking you could just merge one old section into another is the first mistake test takers will make. The DNA of the test has been rewritten. Correct. So the illusion of less is more. To me, that's the first trap. This brings us to the first and most seductive trap of all, the numbers game. The new exam will have fewer questions. The total number of questions are dropping from that 170. So when people hear fewer questions, they think, aha, easier exam. I've had so many people hit me up in the comment section saying, I'll just wait till August. It feels like a relief, right? A reduction in questions, a gift? To me, that could be a psychological trick. It could be literally a trap. Think about it. If you still have the same 4 hours to take the test, the time limit hasn't changed, but with fewer questions, the value of each question kind of skyrockets. It goes up. On the old exam, you had 150 score questions. You had a certain margin of error. You could get a few tough questions wrong and still comfortably pass. With fewer scored questions, the margin shrinks drastically. Every single question you answer now carries more weight towards your final score. Think about it, guys. A single mistake could be more costly. A string of 3 or 4 mistakes in one area can be devastating, where before it necessarily wasn't like that. So while it may feel like the burden is lighter, the pressure is actually higher. They haven't made it easier, they've made it more precise. They've reduced the noise, which means your signal, your knowledge, and your reasoning has to be tight, intact. The trap is believing that fewer questions give you more breathing room. The reality of it is, it gives you less room for error. Let's talk about another trap. The values and ethics deception. Now for me, I'll be honest, that's the biggest one. It's the most critical trap of all. This is the one that will catch thousands of smart, well-prepared social workers completely off guard. It has to do with the new domain called values and ethics. On the old exam, the section covered ethics was pretty important. It was one of the 4 pillars. In the new structure, the ASWB has created a standalone domain called values and ethics. And while there is some debate on the exact final percentages, sources suggest that for the clinical exam, the exam may be slightly more an assessment intervention, but a little less on ethics, but only time will tell. So here's the trap. Let's go ahead and name it. By calling the values and ethics, you think it sounds similar. You think, okay, I know the code of ethics. I understand boundaries. I understand confidentiality. I understand dual relationships. You might be wrong. Your knowledge here could be dangerously incomplete. What the ASWB has done is a classic bait and switch. This new retooled domain isn't just the old ethics sections on steroids based on new blueprints. The domain has absorbed huge chunks of what used to be called professional relationships. It's not just about knowing the rules anymore. It's about applying them in complex scenarios, including supervision, risk management, organizational policy, and those culturally responsive practice. The ASWB itself has stated that this area was ranked as most important in modern practice. Which is why it has been refocused. They are explicitly telling us that this new center of the test is going to be heavy ethics. So the trap is this. You spend time memorizing the code of ethics, like always, thinking you got it all covered and you're ready. Meanwhile, the exam will be testing you on applied risk management, navigating complex supervision dynamics, and responding to systemic pressures, all under this seemingly innocent banner of values and ethics. You'll be prepared for a memory test when you actually are faced with high stakes reasoning tests. That's the difference. No memorization, baby. We're reasoning. So before we move on and start dismantling all these traps and building your new game and kind of analyzing all this stuff I'm going over, I want you to just take a moment and hit the subscribe button, share this video with a friend, because everybody's on pins and needles trying to figure out what's going to happen with this 2026 exam. And again, this is just the perspective coming from LCSW Vibes. We'll all know the truth in the next few months. My whole goal here is just to give you some clarity, give you a strategy so you can pass this thing. And remember, we're in this together. I'm here to talk solutions and to help you be prepared for the exam more so than ever. So let me go over this. The 3 new rules that the LCSW, or should I say LMSW exam prep, you have to understand that the traps are not only something just to think about, but they're also just maybe half of the battle. Now, the other half is thinking about the old study methods. Are they going to be obsolete? Do you have to get a new set of rules? You have to adapt to the new 3-domain study plan. That's factual. You can't think in 4 quarters. Your brain, your notes, your flashcards, everything you've been doing is going to have to be reorganized to those 3 domains, specifically value and ethics, assessment and planning, and intervention and practice. Your study time must reflect these 3 things, and they are weighted differently. While the final percentages are still pending, it looks to be like in a 30% range for each category. So if you're spending equal time in all these areas, you're going to be doing something good. However, you have to focus on the new structure, especially with that values and ethics domain. We got to make sure we know more than just the code. The second rule, we want to shift from what to how. The ASWB has been crystal clear that they're no longer using the cases, the knowledge, skills, and abilities. They're using applied knowledge statements now. They officially stated that the new exam includes a higher proportion of questions that rely on application of professional knowledge through the use of problem solving and reasoning. So, that's them saying it, not me. What does that mean for you? It means the questions they're asking, you can't just know the mere definition. You have to know how to apply it. What's the best first step the social worker should take in this situation? Routine memorization is dead. No longer something that you need and that you should do. You need to be able to read a complex vignette, identify the core ethical dilemmas, consider the cultural factors, and then determine the most appropriate action based on clinical reasoning. Your study should now be 20% content review and 80% application. Huge difference there, guys. All right, let's move on to rule number 3. I want you to become a master, should I say, in applied ethics and risk management. You have to treat the values and ethics domain as its own specialized subject. Yes, you got to know the code of ethics for sure. You got to know a code. I mean, all of it. Don't sugarcoat. Make sure you're reading that every day. But you got to go a little deeper than that. You're going to need to seek out scenarios that relate to navigating conflicts between agency policies and your ethical duties. You're going to have to know how to manage transference and counter-transference in supervision. You're going to have to know the ethical considerations of electronic practice and social media. Huge in today's society, especially with AI. You're going to have to know how to apply anti-oppressive and cultural responsive frameworks when you're making decisions. This part of the exam is the new gatekeeper. This is where you'll separate those who just know the rules from who they know and how to do it to actually be able to practice it and apply it. Don't fall in this trap of underestimating the complexity complexity. Just because it sounds familiar, remember, things are changing. This is going to be the final boss of the ASWB exam. So, is the 2026 ASWB exam change a trap? Possibly, but only if you're not paying attention. The trap is laid for those who accept the minor changes and the narrative and just decide how they're going to utilize it. It's for those who think fewer questions means an easier test, and for those who believe value and ethics is just the same old section as always been. But if you know it's not, this is not a trap for you. Not anymore. Because now you can see the redesign for what it is. You understand that every question carries more weight. You recognize the momental shift in values and ethics domain. And you know that your success hinges on mastering what? Yes, applied reasoning, not recall. The ASWB has said that they will release more information in roughly the spring of 2026. But you don't have to wait to change your test prep game. Join the community, tap in, where we're learning how to apply and how to reason with the information we have so we be better equipped no matter when you take the test. Focus on application and problem solving, and you will become an expert in the new expanded world of clinical ethics and risk management. You have the power to turn this trap into your personal launch pad. Yes, so I'm ready to help equip you with this exam with more confidence, with you actually knowing what to do, how to apply this information, because you know what? You got this. And if you're ready to start implementing this new strategy, check out the links in the description section for all the updated study guides, practice exams. We're keeping it up to date in LCSW vibes. Remember, the change doesn't take place till August. All the updates will be notified in the early spring, but right now you can start preparing by studying and not memorizing and learning how to apply the information that you have in the information that you're learning. I'm telling you guys, heavy application and reasoning all day in the big 2026. And I want to make sure that you can level up, you can win, and you understand it. Thanks so much again for tapping in, watching. Make sure you share this video with a friend. We sharing the love all year long. That's what we're doing. Sharing the love, telling other people so we can help grow and elevate one another. Thanks so much. Make sure you like, subscribe, tell a friend. We're all trying to win. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Be blessed.